Good evening, Tim. How you doing?
Howdy, Fred.
All
What's
right.
going
It's
on?
Thursday evening as we as we get together for another session. Um, a couple of things going on this week. Not a lot, but there are a few issues. Bitcoin breaking 100,000. That was the
Uh-huh.
goal all along. There is some other things. You see this political problems in South Korea, political problems in France. A lot of things developing around the world now.
Yeah.
What are you
Plus,
saying?
we're on the verge of peace breaking out in the Ukraine. It looks
Yeah,
like it looks like they're really talking. A couple of things should have pushed gold up and didn't. Uh, but of course, the prospect of peace in Ukraine is
yeah,
gold
keep the
negative. Um, so that said, I guess the other question is money moving from gold to Bitcoin, since it looks like it's getting a U.S. sanction effectively.
yeah. I mean, the fact that the Trump administration seems friendly to the digital currency space, Gensler moving out, and a new incoming chairman, I think, is friendly as well. So I think that gives it an underpinning. And I read something, I forget who wrote it. Read it this morning. It said that this administration is more entrepreneurial, and it's basically giving the green light for people, the entrepreneurs, to go out and make a big push. And that's one of the secondary reasons, aside from the obvious, that people are more willing to take a punt.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's what we talked about before. We're going from a trading environment to an investment environment. Um, the pardons are really baffling everybody. Now they're talking about pardoning everybody and his mother. I just heard that they're thinking
Fauci,
somebody floated Adam Schiff. They want to pardon Adam Schiff. Um, uh, Dr. Fauci.
Yossi, Fauci, Schiff, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And the tweet I saw this morning made me laugh. It said Trump was impeached twice for trying to talk about crimes that Hunter is being pardoned for.
the whole thing is pretty remarkable. We had, I went to my Thursday meeting today, and we had a guest, a very bright lady, the granddaughter of one of the guys who works for the Wall Street Journal. And as she closed, she said, what do you guys think are the next big issues? And my suggestion was, I think we're going to have to find out what the limits of authority are between the federal government and the states. States' rights, we fought a war over that. Civil war
Hmm.
was over states' rights, effectively. Um, and now we see it in pardons because the pardons are federal and not state. So if you want to put somebody to jail that's pardoned, you have to indict them under a state issue or under state law. Um, you have it with respect to migration and the sanctuary cities. You have it in drug laws. Um, and now, if states are trying to Trump-proof their state, like Gavin Newsom is supposed to be doing, this whole idea of where states' sovereignty begins and ends, and federal sovereignty overtakes, has to be in the forefront. It's got to be an issue that's decided. I don't think we
Yeah,
can throw it around anymore.
I was thinking about that, for conservatives who have fought for states' rights, and were very vocal about it. Now, when you have states saying, no, we're independent, we're not going to let the federal government come in here and do that,
Yeah.
it's
There,
like free speech is free speech, except
we
if you
used to say,
don't.
hoist it on your own petard.
That's right. That's right. So,
And that's the game.
yeah.
But these are big issues. When Trump starts to make recommendations about cutting out this department and that department, it's a federal department, and they're going to move something down to the states. These issues are going to get thorny, I think. I would be surprised to see this pop up as a real major issue.
Mhm.
And you got to tune into a guy like Mark Levin, who's a sort of a
Constitutionalist.
constitutional expert, to
Yeah.
find out, where, plus he's a lawyer, where states can overtake the federal government. So it's a thorny question. It's never been decided, I don't think, in a lot of cases. It's never been decided whether or not a state can secede from the union. So I
Speaking of,
raise that as what I think is one of the issues coming down the road at us. And a few guys said, yeah, that's one. That's, uh,
you
that's
talk
one.
about seceding. Did you see Trump's comment to Trudeau, the off-the-cuff comment?
Yeah, we can make Canada a state.
That's what will make you the governor.
Yeah, I'm sure that went over real well.
Yeah,
Trudeau was very pleased.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think anybody that was long the Canadian dollar was not very pleased either. I think
Yeah,
the Canadian
I'm not
dollar
sure.
took a big.
Did it react at all?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, because he's basically saying, listen, you put these tariffs in, we're dead. Okay. All right. Figure out how to clean yourself up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we got another week of threatening. He threatened, well, was it this week or last week that he threatened the BRICS? You're
Last
going to
week, yeah.
have 100% tariffs and, you
Yeah.
know,
Still wants to maintain dollar as reserve currency.
right.
Let me take care of it. Let me handle it.
Yeah, and I had said a while ago that he was going to do that, something like that. He he recognizes the threat that the BRICS hold here. You know,
We got the government's falling in France. Did you see that?
not just France. I mean, South Korea was a big
South,
deal.
yeah, I mean it's 190 to 0 was the vote to have an impeachment of the president because of the
Well, at least it
March.
wasn't one-sided. You know.
That's right. I don't know much about South Korean politics, but that tells you something.
Yeah, they were pretty lit up. When we started talking about that here, I said, we almost had martial law here under COVID, and we weren't that far
Yeah,
from martial law. You couldn't congregate, you couldn't worship.
arresting people on the beaches.
Yeah,
Right.
taking what Rolls cops were shooting people with paint guns from
Yeah.
who were outside, had the audacity to sit outside on their terrace.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was just a
Reagan
mere
was
4
right.
years
You
ago.
lose it in one generation, and it really
Yeah.
doesn't take much.
And it's just a mere 4
So-
years. Yeah.
So the markets are behaving. They're starting to just focus on other things.
Digest a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The euphoria seems to be over.
Yeah, the oil play seems to be working. I think that's still around. That's a nice trade. I'm accumulating it.
Some of the drillers have been getting hurt since I put it on. There's small negatives there.
Yeah, some of the drillers have, but then again, natural gas dropped
Yeah.
like 8%. That's a tough. I don't know. I've been fooling around with UNG. I finally took me like 5 days to buy puts. You couldn't even get a risk reversal on. They traded through my level, and I couldn't get it on. Some of these specialists on these options, I don't know if you pay attention to them, but the platform I have calculates your P&L. And if you got an option trade on, it takes the bid, takes the offer, probably does on stocks too, and just splits it down the middle and gives you that as a
So it
valuation.
gives you a mid-market reval.
Yeah, but
Okay.
some of these options are like no bid, 5.5 offered. So you look up and you say, wait a minute, I'm up $3,000. How is that on three? And you look, and it's nowhere near reality. So you put in a price, and all of a sudden you change your valuation. But it's craziness. I actually wrote a letter, sent a bunch of emails out, because there were at least 2 stocks that I won't mess around with, because there's no liquidity in the stock or the option. The market makers are abysmal. No liquidity at all.
Are these S&P 500 stocks or are they like pink sheets?
No, they're real companies. I don't know about S&P 500, probably. Says S&P 1000 anyway.
Yeah.
Russell's, NASDAQ. This
That's right.
UNG stock, I don't know where UNG is, where it trades. It's a natural. The assets are all natural gas. Like 51% of their assets are natural gas, and the rest in fixed income. So it's a direct play on natural gas. But there's warnings all over it. Difficult to borrow, so you can't get short. And your only hope is the puts. And like I say, 5 days, I try to get a trade off. I had to go deep in the money to get a reasonable price, you know, where the spec premium just wasn't a big piece of the valuation.
So there's no volume, no liquidity, and
Now,
the specialists, the market makers, just put up whatever the price they wanted.
yeah, 0.25 to 5.5 or something like that.
Right.
And I'll say the middle is, 2.5 or 3, which is, if you evaluate it, it's really not realistic at all. Just happens to
Right.
be the mathematical difference. So I would like to see some action on that. Because, I mean, I won't, don't begrudge the market makers a spread, but come on, I mean, is this their job or what?
Right.
So there's that, I guess. I guess the new digital gold is Bitcoin and all the
It's
other.
lifting all the digital currencies up,
Yeah,
Ethereum, like even some of the what they called shit coins, Doge, which was a shit coin, but since Vivek and Elon have coined the phrase, the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, that coin went up like, I don't know, a couple of 100%, I think. And just because they named it Doge, because
yeah.
it was this big thing.
These are proper valuations. Yeah.
That's
There's not a shakeout coming in those
yeah,
markets at all.
yeah.
So,
104,000 now. It's
yeah, I was watching. Do you ever watch Tyrus on the Five, the big wrestler?
no.
he, they were talking about Bitcoin, and somebody said, "Yeah, I bought some, and it's the easiest money I ever made. I bought it about 6 years ago." And Tyrus said, "Well, I got a bittersweet story. I spent $5,000 about 5 years ago, and I bought Bitcoin, but I can't remember my password.
Yeah.
How do you get that? Where
Yeah.
do you find that?"
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to be on a true exchange like a Coinbase or a Binance or those, but it seems like because they fears of being hacked, but at least you have some recourse.
Yeah,
You have somewhere to go. If you take it offline and put it in your wallet somewhere, all of these stories pop up now of people that had, a couple of bitcoins stashed away on a hard drive, on a zip drive, and it's gone now.
yeah, new capital loss.
Yeah.
So there's that, and not a lot. I'm curious to see what's going on in the Ukraine. I think Israel is a hot spot here. We had one of the guys, an old Navy guy, who is privy to a lot of the information, flies all around, and he was talking about the F-35s, and he said the fact that they got those planes, they're really a major advancement in warfare. And he said, we have a guy that's plugged into Israel in a big way. And he was talking about the ceasefire. And he said, everybody knew that Hezbollah was not going to honor the ceasefire, but it was done specifically so that there were instructions. The minute they violate, and they will violate, retaliate immediately. And he tied this into the F-35, so maybe we gave F-35s to Israel as part of this, I don't know. But he seemed to think that as soon as January 20th rolls around, they're going to hit the nuclear stockpiles.
Really?
Well, he believed it, for what it's worth.
Yeah. And I saw Trump's comment about get the hostages out before January 20th, or it'll be all
Yeah.
hell to pay.
Yeah, well, maybe that's it, So there's that. And the markets seem quiet. The dollar seems to have found a level. It's not climbing anymore.
right?
Um,
I would have thought that the euro would have been a lot lower with the problems in France. You know, I thought it would have made a larger attempt at parity, but it's still hovering around 105.
let's face it, the euro was Germany. The
Yeah,
euro was
France
the
is a big
market.
part of it as well. You know, France is if France is
Well, if that were the case, if you're correct, then how come it didn't respond to a vote of no confidence?
well, that's my point. I think you know they always say markets that don't go down on bad news are are ready to go up, right? So if you look at this as potentially bad news for the euro, maybe it is oversold here. Maybe we're starting to see that we're getting ready for a little pop. The idea of all of the funds coming back into the dollar, about this this wave that we're going to see, and we think it's going to be, or at least I think it's going to be off in the future, not initially. I don't think we're going to see that wave initially. So maybe we do have a move back to 110, 112 in the euro.
Well, you know, we talked a couple of weeks ago about the anti-woke investments,
Right.
and I think we determined that Britain was a woke currency that should be sold.
Oh yeah.
I don't know enough. I really didn't read up on this French move. Is it a move to the left or a move to the right?
I think it's more. I don't know, to be
I hate
honest.
to show my ignorance. You know, I
Yeah.
really should know, but I don't. I didn't care enough. It's the
Hmm.
French. Let's face it,
Yeah.
like the old Simpson cartoon. You know, pick a country that you really don't like. France. Everybody says France. So that's that. Quiet week in the markets.
Yeah.
Bonds. You got a bond position?
I don't. I don't. I had my TLT puts that I took off the other day, which was at a nice level. Took them off at a nice spot, but their TLTs are bouncing between. I guess it's 92 and 94 or so, 92 and a half and 94 and a half.
I'm looking to unwind my yield curve trade.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. After the election, I think that trade really lost all of its steam.
Yeah. Yeah. I still
All
think that
right.
we're going to have. I still think we're going to have a lot of short-term pain. You know, we were talking earlier today. You mentioned the point about, and I think you mentioned on one of the previous podcasts about renovating a house, and you got to live through reconstruction.
Yeah, I
And
used
that,
that analogy today. I talked about somebody had asked me, "What do you think is really going on, you know, in this climate?" And I said, "Well, you know, Trump's a builder, and he's taken a project here to renovate the U.S. economy, and that's what he's going to do. And everybody's looking at the artist drawing, seeing where it's going to end up, and everybody's euphoric about that. But the question really, in terms of whether or not the market focuses on one thing or the other, over the next few years, the market's going to focus. Are they going to focus on that pretty drawing, or are they going to say, well, you know, it's cold, the heating unit's not working, we need a new heating
sure.
unit, or you knock that, and the demolition team is lining up, you know, Vivek
Yeah.
and Musk. You don't want to own real estate in Northern Virginia when that demolition team shows up. So they got dust and dirt, and you're right. There's a lot of pain, a lot of unemployment that's got to be
As we
reallocated
transition
throughout the
from
economy.
government growth to private sector growth, there's going to be
Yeah,
some pain.
yeah, yeah. But the question is really, does the market focus on that, or they keep looking at a pretty drawing? You know, it doesn't really matter what reality is. It matters what the market thinks reality is. And I think that's the key to this.
Yeah, that's the old
Focus
adage: things
shifts
don't matter
maybe
until
from
they
one place
matter.
to another.
You know, people have always said, numbers don't matter until they matter, right?
Yeah, Yogi
And
Berra said that, I think.
that's right. So you might see unemployment start to tick up. You might see some bad GDP numbers as we go through this, and it won't matter until somebody says, "Holy shit! Look at where we're at," and that'll be the bottom. You know, there's the other friend of ours that always talks about sentiment, and when sentiment gets way too far to the other way, that's when the boat's loaded too much.
Well, using his argument then, we're topping out. This market's euphoric.
Yeah,
That would be his argument, and it seems
yeah,
to be what he's saying. And in term, I got to go back to traders versus investors. This liquidity was basically people sloshing liquidity in and out and taking positions until the election, and now it's let's commit capital for a long time. I want to put it into this country. I want to put it into the U.S. and I want a favorable environment for business and taxes, and they're going to reduce some regulations, and those are long-term trades. I don't know if I ever did it on this podcast, but I used to give a lecture about liquidity and a bubble. I would say, like, imagine putting a bubble over the room and just create, if you want to understand liquidity, let's create an unrealistic scenario. Let's assume that everybody in this room have the exact same risk and reward profile. They want a 10-point reward and a 2-point stop loss, and they slosh this liquidity around. I sell to you, it goes up 10 points. I'm looking to get out. You're looking to take your profit, and liquidity moves and reallocates itself inside the bubble. But then I short to you, and it goes up, and when it goes up 7 or 8 points, somebody drills a hole in the top of the bubble, and its hand comes out and takes the liquidity that you were going to sell me and takes it and brings it to the next level. Now you're breaking through all resistance and resistance levels. And then when I come to close up, there's no liquidity for me. It's gone. It's packed away for 4 years or 5 years. So we're moving from a professional liquidity shifting environment to a long-term investment environment. Yeah, it's an interesting time. It really is.
yeah. I think the next 18 months, 2 years is going to be very interesting.
Well, see, that's the thing. If you stay with the analogy, the owners of the house are the public. They live in a house. And there's no meeting with the owners for another 2 years. That's the next election. They got to meet with the owners in 2 years. That's why that Musk and Vivek have a July 4th deadline,
2020,
year and a half,
2026. Yeah,
2026.
yeah,
Because right before that, that's the new election. So that's the progress report being delivered to the owners of the house, saying this is what we've done. So they got to do everything within the next 2 years. They need a lot of gains to put up on the board for the next 2 years. Argentina did exactly that. This guy did exactly that.
yeah.
He delivered the prototype.
And I guess it's been a year and a half, 2 years since he's done that, right?
Yeah, but he's got results. He got the inflation rate down. I was there. People are willing to say, yeah, I got to hand it to him. He did what he said he was going to do.
Yeah, I
So
got
that's
back
the
into
rush. That's the rush even before the inauguration.
I got back into GGAL and YPF again, and they're still flying.
I lightened up on YPF and went into GGAL again.
Yeah,
I'm looking at those two as a spread. One's financial and the other is energy.
his energy, right?
So anyway, I'll
All
talk
right.
to you again.
Sounds good. Have
Good
a
couple
great
days.
evening, and
Okay.
we'll talk again tomorrow. Take care,
Take care.
Tim. Bye.